All right, welcome back. Welcoming myself back and all of us. Hayom Yom. Hayom Yom today, 16 of Sivan. Okay, the early sages who were like angels. I'm looking here, the origin, there's a footnote here. It's a Talmudic statement. Yeah, the early sages, our predecessors. The Gemara says that our predecessors, meaning the Chachamim of the Gemara says that our predecessors were like angels. So the early sages who were like angels, may their merit protect us, have already determined that the healing of the soul is like the healing of the body. So the notion of mental health informing physical health or mind-body continuity is not a new idea. It's probably not new to you either, that it's not a new idea. But it seems to be very much in the forefront today, which is amazing. The crucial first step is examining the opposite of wellness and wellness. The crucial first step is to identify the location of the illness, whether it is caused by the crassness, grossness, and corruption of the physical body, right? It could be physical deterioration, could be genetic mutation, or by a failing in the soul powers. Right? The soul, the neshama, the seichel, etc., influences the physical. So we have to know where's the source. The person, could it be the soul powers, where the person is being inclined in undesirable traits like arrogance or falsehood and the like? And we're saying these things have an effect on one's health. Or is the source of the malady may be habit, poor Torah education, or unwholesome environment, having brought on bad habits. I think that goes without saying. Without asserting the specific site of the illness and the cause of infection, it is impossible to heal him. One can only prescribe an orderly, proper conduct in all matters, what to do and what to avoid, to do good in terms of observing mitzvahs, designing times for Torah study, and acquiring good character traits, and also to turn away from evil. Most urgent of all, however, is that the patient himself make himself aware of two things. One, to know that one is ill and desire most fervently to be cured of the malady, and B, to know that he can be cured with hope and absolute trust that with God's help, he will indeed be cured of his sickness. And whoever needs a refuah shlema should have a refuah shlema, but korev mamish. Lessons in Tanya. We're doing 2 days today, 15 and 16. And 15 begins chapter 5, which in this Lessons in Tanya is on page 870. And in this version, Lakuti Morim, it is on the bottom of page 158. Now, this chapter, in the beginning of the next chapter, will be an explanation of part of what the Alter Rebbe began by introducing Shar Yichud Emunah, which began with, you should know today and you should put it on your heart that Havaya is Elokim. And we opened up when we started this, for those who weren't here, we said, we say in the Siddur, the equivalent of these in English is the Lord our God. Is this repetition, or is this something where there's a specificity to each word, Havaya and Elokim? And the answer, of course, is there's a specificity, because nothing in the Torah is there for nothing. So he's going to explain today the meaning of Havaya and Elokim, and basically how they interoperate. Okay, Vehini al zeh amru. On this, that it's been said. Now, what's this? The last this that we talked about was the expression from the Zohar that the shorish, the root of Gevura, which is the Tzimtzum, which is what brings about the existence of individuation and multiplicity, because before that, there's only everything, and after the Tzimtzum, there's discrete stuff, so to speak. The Zohar says that the source of that is Butzina de Kadunita. It's the black light, the dark light, which in the last time we met, I made a correlation, it's a metaphoric correlation, with a black hole, which since then I've looked up a definition of the black hole. And the quote that I have from what it was about, it's a region of space-time, which Einstein put on the table, space-time, both place and time, Einstein told us. But of course, the Torah told us this right from the beginning, that space and time are both creations. So it's a region of space-time where the collapsing force is so strong that no electromagnetic radiation can escape. That's the Tzimtzum. No electromagnetic godliness is condensed. That's the black hole. That's the Butza de Kardunita. So on this, now we can begin. On this, it was said, our sages said, here is Rashi, on the first pasuk in Bereshis. He said, at the outset, now here we don't mean there's no time yet, this is before time. So at the outset means at the first deepest levels of God consciousness, when it rose up in his mind to create, to create the world, what did he do? It rose up in his mind to create the Midas Hadin with the attribute of Din. And in fact, that's what he did, because Gevura is Din, Gevura is contraction is Tzimtzum. So when God thought about creating, he said, if I'm going to create, forgive me speaking for him, if I'm going to create something that has individuation, I have to bring forth something which will, quote, materialize individuation, and that means I have to hide my allness, right? So that's the first thing that rose up in his mind, when it rose up in his mind to create, the Midah of Gevura. And Rashi says this also, that in the beginning, darkness was over the world. We say this also in our Ma'ariv Davening. He forms light and he creates darkness. In the order of worlds, Yetzirah is a lower world than Bria. So if you read it that way, light comes in the lower world. He emits a ray of light through the darkness. The darkness comes first. Yetzirah is the world of formation, the lower world, and Bria is the world of upper world of light, of darkness. So darkness comes before light in the order of creation. However, he saw that the world could not exist that way, in a black hole. That's not what he wanted. So Shittaf by Midas Horachim. This is all Rashi in Bereshis, first pasuk in Bereshis. So he combined with the Midah of with the darkness, a Midah, in order to create mercy. Mercy is the fusion, right? If you look into the spheres, the fusion, inter-inclusion of Chesed and Gevura, Rachamim. The Hainu Hisgalas Elokus Agidei Tzadikim. And what was the mercy? The godliness should be revealed, albeit in a contracted way, the contraction again being necessary for the existence of individuality and individuation. And where does it exist? It resists and it's revealed al yedei hatzadikim, through the tzadikim, the oisios umevsim sheb'Torah, in the miracles and wonders of the Torah. In other words, there are opportunities, there are occurrences in the world where the light breaks through, where the totally above ordinary, i.e. the infinite, breaks through and shows something of itself in the finite. And he says, where is that? Through the tzaddikim and in the miracles and wonders of the Torah. And on this it said, in the Zohar, up above, in the side of holiness, Kedusha Elah, in the side of supernal holiness, Ish Yamina, the Ish Smala. There is a right and there is a left. Back to our Spirisa Oimer. There's an inter-inclusion of right and left, of Chesed and Gevura. which is called Rachamim. That's the midah. He said he saw the world wouldn't exist, so he combined with it the midah of Rachamim. The Hainu Chesed and Gevurah. What do we see up above? The midah of Chesed and Gevurah inter-included with each other. Pirish, Shteihin hem midas alakus. Both of them, Chesed and Gevurah, are godly midos. This harks back to the expression I mentioned earlier on Friday, from Chassidus, from Mishnah's Chassidim, that just as he has the attribute of infinity, he has the attribute of finity. Or just as he has the attribute is Ein Sof, without limit, he has the attribute of Sof, to limit. Two opposites, and he utilizes them both and integrates them both. The Hainu Chesed and Gevurah. Both Chesed and Gevurah, or light and darkness, or limitlessness and limitedness, are both godly attributes. Which the existence of both of them together is something which is higher than, deeper than created intellect, and our ability to grasp that. He and his causations, that's the little word causations, mean this in the Hasidus Hasidus Kabbalah, and in Hasidus teaches that as the kalim, the lights and the vessels, the energy and the containers are one, the Olam HaTzilis, before they differentiate out. And this is interesting, even the understanding level of Moshe Rabbeinu, Olav Shalom, in his prophecy, Ba'olam HaBriya, was only reached the world of Briya, not into the world of Atzilis. It was the world of Hoyasa Ba'olam, Moshe Rabbeinu, Lo Hoyasa Ba'olam Atzilis. His prophecy wasn't in the world of Atzilis, I skipped a line. But only as Atzilus was enclosed in the lower world of Bria. Yafgam Zoif, so he said, even then, not only then, he didn't have Hasaga understanding in the Midas of Chesed and Gevurah, only as they are included in the Midas lower than them, in the Greg Shehem Midas Netzach Yisod. So what's he saying? In godliness itself, there's no contradiction, right? He, the energy and the lights are one. In Atzilus, that oneness becomes mislabish, it becomes enclosed, right? So in Atzilus, there is, and this is something that's also beyond understanding, and that's why it says Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy didn't reach there. In Atzilus, there was the sense of an entity, a world called Olam. There is a sense of a world called Olam, which Olam is from the language of concealment. And at the same time, there's that sense of oneness, of worldliness, is full of Elokus. It doesn't perceive any differentiation. Again, that's a paradox. There is differentiation, but that differentiation does not imply or bring with it separation. In Olam Atzilus, there's no separation. As it comes down, Bria, you notice I've said this before also, Bria is the word create. When you get to Bria, creation, then separation starts to show itself as separation. But of course, Atzilus is invested in it. And Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy was at that level, but even that level, only as those two midas of Chesed and Gevurah were drawn down into lower levels. That's a Choy Yisoid. As is written, Sefer of Kabbalah from the 13th century, called Shar HaNavuah. Except that the reward of the righteous in Gan Eden, hu hasogas hispashtis achayis v'or hanimshach mishtei midas elu Chesed Gevurah. In Olam Haba, the reward of tzaddikim is that they can grasp, they're able to grasp the flow of the life force and the light, which is drawn from these two midos, these two opposite midos of Chesed and Gevurah, and that's what they eat. This is the food of the tzaddikim in Olam Haba. The food of the tzaddikim who occupied themselves in Torah for its own sake in this world. Because from the flow of these two attributes, nimtach rakia, that's where the rakia is spread out, right? The rakia was created on Yom Beis. So the rakia is a surface, the surface, where the chesed and gevura meets. The first day is pure chesed. The second day, right? Yehi Or is day one. Yehi Rakia is the second day, where gevura begins to encapsulate the light, where the allness begins to be encapsulated so that it can be delivered as multiplicity. And that's the Rakia. So the hispashis, the flow of these two midos, which is spread of the Rakia through over the neshamas in Gan Eden. The Rakia zeh nikra roza de eraisa. And this Rakia, this platform for separation, is called the secret of the Torah. Because the Torah is, in other places it says clearly, not on the interpretive level, just on the drush level, not on the sod level, but on the drush level, that the Torah was written with white light on black light. And this is our Sefer Torah. The white that's why Sefer Torah parchment has to be white, and black together. The mix of two. We have to do in our Sefer Torah, because in this world we can't see both of those things together, so they're distinctive, white and dark, but it represents one entity. The Sefer Torah is an entity of parchment and black letters, white light on black light on white light, black ink on white parchment. And in that rakia, which is able to harmonize light and darkness and bring through the darkness a sense of the light from the Ein Sof itself. And in it is in the letters of the Torah is the soid of the letters of the Torah are the secret of the 22 letters of the Torah. Excuse me. Let me take this again. This rakia, this place of integration, is the secret of the 22 letters of the Torah. Hanasunim ishtei midos elu, which the Torah is given through these two midos, chesed and gevura. K'tikasiv, as is written, so we've written the pasuk, v'yamini esh das lomoy, that from his right hand comes the flame of knowledge, which is the flame of the religion is how they translate it. Maybe a better translation in Lessons in Torah. From his right hand comes esh das, a flame of the religious code, lamoy to them. And from this firmament, noitev tal, drips down dew, lemozoin hanashamas, to be food for the neshamas in Gan Eden. The neshamas in Gan Eden have a yediyah, they have a hasaga, they have a grasp on the secret of the 22 letters of the Torah. Because this firmament is the soid, the secret of das. It's the container which transmits das, the das elyon, the supernal knowledge from above. Himozon, and that's their food, that's their nourishment. The revelation of this to neshamas up in Gan Eden is what they eat. The Gan Eden. The mitzvahs and the mitzvahs that we do and that they did, in levushim, they're the garments. Amavur, the garments that are able to enclothe, vest, right? Invest, right? I'm invested. The lights are invested in me, in this little vest that I'm wearing. So that's the clothing. So the clothing, number one, protects it shields, right? And number one, in protecting, it allows the life force to exist. Its protection is its survival. So the light survives the tzimtzum, and it survives by being drawn down through the tzimtzum in a state that we can take and we can handle. Kemavur calls it, as this is all explained, in the Zohar, on Parshas Yakel, Daf Resh Tes, Resh Yud, Uveis Chaim, Sharmen Dalet, Perek Gimel. This is all explained. That was Sunday's Torah, Tanya. Now we'll drill further and then we'll open up the floor. a little bit opening up chapter Vav for today, 16. So this is all about the Shem Elokim, which is the Shem of the name which implies Tzimtzum, Elokim, and its inter-inclusion with the Shem Havaya, which implies unlimited flow. So this is about how the two interact. Unlimited flow, Ein Sof, and restraint of the Ein Sof, Elokim. And now he's going to focus on Shem Elokim. Shem Elokim, who's Shem Midas HaGevurah. The name Elokim is the Midah of Gevurah. So here we have, when we said Havaya Elokim, back at the beginning and we quoted here, Yedai Ta'yeh, put upon your heart that Havaya is Elokim, meaning that light and darkness are interoperating as a single unit all the time in all levels of creation. Shem Elokim shows on the aspect of this inter-inclusion of light and darkness, of infinite and limitation, because it's the Midah of Gevurah. Shem Elokim is the Midah HaGevurah, contraction, condensing, without Tzimtzum. Velochein, hu gam ken b'gematria hateva. And that's why Elokim is the gematria of the word hateva, which is the nature. Lefi shemash ha'or shelamayla. Because what does nature do? Nature masks or hides. We say it's natural. That often is used in the context of that it's not supernatural. It's not above natural. What we're defining here is the supernatural invested in the natural. But the natural itself, nature, does not show openly the infinite light. By definition, it's a hateva is a contraction. I've mentioned before, it's the same word as tuba'u b'yamsuf, when the Paro's chariots were sunk in the Yamsuf, it says tuba'u, it's sunken. It's as if, it's not as if, it is that the Or Ein Sof is sunk into, in other words, mislabish, it's enclosed within, in nature. Because nature, mastir ha'or shelamayla, it conceals the light from above. It conceals the light from above, which brings into being and enlivens the world. And it appears as if the world is conducting itself in a natural way. But of course, that's not the fact. Nature is, by nature, supernatural. But the naturalness of it covers the supernaturalness of it. Hashem Elokim, this name of God, which we call Elokim, Umogin v'nirtach l'shem Havaya. It's a shield and a sheath to the name Havaya. L'halim ha'or v'achayas, to conceal the light and the chayas. What we're discussing here is what we've come across and is known in other words. It says Tzimtzum. B'tzamtzum ha'or, he took the light. He didn't throw the light away, because nothing could exist without the light thrown away, because Havaya is the source of Yud Hava, continually bringing things into being. But to make the differentiation, multiplicity, he had to conceal that. So Lahalim Ha'or, so the Shem Elokim conceals the light, the Achayas and the life force, Hanimshach M'Shem Havaya, which is drawn from the name Havaya, Umahava Ma'ayin Layesh. And the Shem Elokim takes that infinite existence and brings it into concrete substantiality, yesh. So that the infinity is not revealed directly, at least, not to fleshly eyes, but more, let's leave that aside for the moment. Not directly. We don't see the elokus and everything with our physical eyes. So just so that the infinite is not revealed to the physical eyes of creatures, of created things. The Abatu Mitziyusis, as we said before, in the much of the light in the sun. If the sun were revealed down here, we would all return to nothing. We would be burned up in the sun. If the Havaya, the Shem Havaya, the continual infinity of everything were to be revealed, that, at least at this state of history, contracts the notion of finitude. If it's infinite, in our experience down here below, these things are totally contradictory. So if the light of infinite, of Ein Sof were to be revealed, that's the light that existed before creation, Before creation means deeper than creation. Everything would revert back to that stage that it was before creation. And that's called botel b'metzias, meaning actual nullification in existence, not the kind of bittul that we strive for in meditation and contemplation, to mevatel ourselves, put aside our fleshliness and let godliness come in. That's an avoida. Here he's not talking about that. He's talking about the actual occurrence of what would happen if the Ein Sof were, as if the sun were here, that everything would burn up. So creating yesh from ayin, creating substantiality, individuality, individuation from the non-substantial, the non-individuating, from the ayin, that's the function of the midah of Gevurah. By the Bechinas Gevurah Zu, this category of godly emanation, which we call Gevurah, the Tzimtzum Hazeh, and this contraction, Ugamkin Bechinas Hesed. It's also a chesed. And here he quotes the pasuk, Sha'olam Yibana. He didn't quote the pasuk. The pasuk says, Olam Chesed Yibana. That the world was built with chesed, right? But olam, as we've said before, olam ayin lamed mem is the same word as concealment. It's a kindness that God does to us that he conceals, because otherwise we would revert to nothing. We would so-called burn up. So it's a chesed. Chesed she'olam yibana boy. V'zuhi bechinas gevura hakalula b'chesed. This is called in our Sfiros, when we were doing Sfiros HaOmer, chesed shebegevura, the kindness of Gevurah. And this is a gateway to a whole lot of additional Chassidus in many ways, but particularly the one we touched upon a couple times ago about nisyonos, difficulties, hardships, Gevurahs, oilam chesed yibana. One has to know intellectually and eventually, hopefully, feel it in his heart that all the Gevurahs of Hashem, no matter how they manifest, whether it's nature or whether it's actually difficulties, nisyonos, they're all chasodim. And that's from Chesed Olam Yibana. The world is built with kindness. That takes us to today. It's a lot here. So
you're saying that the word olam is gevura because it's ha'elem.
Yes.
And olam is a chesed. Olam chesed yibana.
Yeah, the gevura is a chesed. Because if it weren't for the gevura, we wouldn't exist.
It also says chasdo gavar aleinu.
Yep. And also it says that Hashem himself, when he created me, pi hagavura, from the mouth of the one who is strong. That's where all of creation comes from. And Gibor is strength also. Now, that's another important thing. Shimshin HaGibor. It's that this kind of contraction, breaking through is also Gevurah. Oh, it's interesting. Gevurah is the Tzimtzum, and it's also breaking through the Tzimtzum.
Oh, interesting. The Hey Gevuras that you taught last week, is there another explanation for the Hey Gevuras besides for the Hey Motzos HaPeh, or are they synonymous? The Hey Motzos HaPeh.
There's one other that comes to my mind, which is this, the 5 fingers. And the metaphor there is that if this is raw power, undifferentiated power, this makes the differentiation. This could never play the piano, right? This unadulterated flow. So the 5 Gevuras are also the fingers.
Wow.
So you see, that's another chesed, right? Gevurah creates all the symphonic and all the musical. All music is Gevurah. Think about that. Every stringed instrument, reed instruments from contracting the reed, stringed instruments from pulling, tightening, and letting go of the string. Music depends on, everything depends on all of this, right? But they're all, infinite number of manifestations of it.
And I guess the 5 dibros on each side are the 5 Gevuras.
Absolutely.
As they manifest in commandments.
Yeah, well, they're the utterances. Commandments. Yes. I mean, this is the foundation of all reality. So you'll find it everywhere.
How do you see it in toes?
I don't know. I've never seen it explained in toes. I've seen it explained in fingers, where it definitely works. I don't know. What do you think about that?
And I guess it's also in the 5 books of Moses.
Anything
somehow.
5. Anything 5. Anything 5. I mean, Rabbi Ginsburg in Chabad taught me this way back when. It's really served me well. That any number that you see in the Torah any number is comparable to any other appearance of the same number. So any 5 will be 5 toes, 5 fingers, 5 gevuras, 5 the first 5 commandments, the 5 motzei sapeh.
5 levels of the soul.
5 levels of the soul. Yeah, any 4 yud ke vav ke, So every appearance of any number is meaningful on all of and the point is that all the meanings of all of them are connected with each other. So here, I mean, it's a good discussion we're having because Gevur people don't like Gevur. It's tough. It's tough, and it's a source of darkness. And by the way, this is something we didn't say, but it's here on the page. That in the quote from Rashi, that darkness precedes light, right? And that's the Rashi I have it. Yeah, in the Rashi. That in the beginning it appeared to. In the Rashi says in the beginning, all of it rose in God's mind, to create the world b'midas adin. And Chassidus says, well, if that's it is first in his mind. I mean, darkness is deeper in his mind than light. And as a result of that, just put it generally, there's a lot to be learned and said and translated into Voida about transforming darkness into light. Darkness is the beginning place.
So if you were to parallel the 5 different things, does it necessarily go in order? Like is Bereshis, Nefesh, Shemos, Ruach, Vayikra?
I've never seen that. Maybe.
Have you seen it where the order is mixed up?
No. You're asking a correlation between each of the 5 Gevuras with each of the 5 books. It's there.
Well, yeah.
It's there.
And the thumb and the middle finger and the pointer and whatever.
Yeah, it's all there, but I have not seen. It's there because we know that the 5 is 5 everywhere. But I have not seen and learned, maybe other people have on the call, correlations that you're talking about. All right. Anybody else? Ubechein? Come on, guys. So what? Therefore.
In every challenge, we should see that there's a chesed hidden inside of it.
Amen. Great. Anybody else?
Not to be afraid of the Gevurah in the darkness.
Great. I'm not afraid of the dark. Great.
I'm a little afraid of the dark.
I know. But know that it's just a camouflage for light. And it's meant ultimately, Gevurah meaning, Shimshin the Gibber, to provide the strength to break through. That's the Yachin of Nisoyin. The Nisoyin is a test for the sake of a higher revelation.
Also,
Go ahead.
Also, the borders or the boundaries of Gevurah are what create vessels in order to contain light. And without vessels, we wouldn't be able to exist at all.
Exactly.
There have to be vessels that hold the light. That's everything in creation. Vessels hold light.
Absolutely. And particularly us who are vessels for God's mitzvahs, for God's will, which transcends all of this. Beautiful. Guys are good. All right. So we'll leave that for today. Ponder this. Mr. Hashem, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.